You are welcome back to the concluding part of our program today, and we are going to commence by asking and trying to answer the pertinent questions arising from today's topic. Now, it's remember that we are still discussing the commemoration of victims of religious and terrorist attacks in various developing countries of the world. All right. Okay. So the question we want to ask today, the first one is, what actually makes a region vulnerable to religious and terrorist attacks? All right. What actually makes a region, a country vulnerable, prone to religious and terrorist attacks? All right. Okay. So we find out that these things happen in some countries, and in other countries you don't see them at all. Okay. Yes. So the question we want to ask: who is actually responsible? Who actually equip these extremists? All right. These radicals with the weapons that they use in attacking hapless citizens and members of the society, all right, who actually tell them to carry out this? Because the way they operate, it's like a group. They operate like a group, all right, with a special motive and intention to destroy and to kill, all right. So if that is the case, that means someone somewhere is heading the group, spearheading the group, financing it, telling it to do what it's doing. All right, that's the first question. What makes a region vulnerable? Of course, there are some answers that we have come up with. All right, and the first one is the leader in that area is through his body language and programs encouraging religious violence and terrorist attack. All right? Yes. Remember, there was a time in Nigeria when they talked about Islamization. All right? Yes. When you have such things, all right? That was a long time ago. Okay. I talked about when a leader, all right, favors a particular religion in a heterogeneous society where there are different ethnic groups and religions, and a leader want to impose a particular religion on all the citizens of that country, you find that there will be resistance and there will be a problem. All right, so that's number one thing. We thank God that that's not happening in our country, Nigeria, anymore. All right, of course we have two leaders at the highest echelon of power in Nigeria, and they are from the same religion, all right? And people are still living in peace and loving one another. That's one accolade I give this current administration, that even though the president and the vice president are Muslims, still we live in peace, okay? And there are Christians in Nigeria, okay, who also are going about their normal businesses without harassment or without any form of molestation. That's a kudos. That's the number one kudos we're giving. Now there's also this other thing, all right? The teachings that the leaders of these various religions give to their followers is also a contributory factor that makes their followers to carry out violence attack on those who are not members of their religion. There's this issue, this rumor that we had some time ago, that's a particular region in this country where they encourage their members to kill people. All right, that if you kill anyone, you'll be entitled to 7 virgins. We don't know how true that is, but that was what we had. That was what fueled, you know, extremism and religious violence in Nigeria. There are 7 virgins waiting for you in heaven when you kill someone who is not a member of your religion. Can you imagine? Okay, all right. And then we also have the issue of the security architecture, right? Yes, in terms of how equipped they are, in terms of sabotaging, the national life, when you have security officers who are not committed to what they are supposed to be doing. All right, and the second question that we have today is what is the government doing to stop radicalization of young people? Now, remember that anywhere that these things happen, it's actually young people that, are involved. okay? And you find out that most of them are people who do not actually know the implication of what they are doing. Maybe because they are going to be given free food, clothing, and housing. They engage in things that are not supposed to engage in. So, what is the National Orientation Agency doing to ensure that there is de-radicalization of young people who must have taken the wrong path? All right? And the first solution we are providing today is mm, most of these things happen because of ignorance. And what is the solution to ignorance? Education. But what happens when the ordinary man, who falls prey to this deception and deceit, all right, cannot afford education? Have you seen it? And then who cannot feed himself? Like they said, free school feeding for children. That's by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Now we're asking this school feeding, free school feeding for students and pupils. How sustainable is it? Because down here in the eastern part, we've not heard of any school where that is implemented. All right, if it's implemented in the up north and the western regions, what we have not confirmed. Okay, but down here in the east, whether private or government, we've not seen any school where students are fed. But even if as good as it sounds, how would the government raise money with which to feed students freely every day? You see, when governments come up with programs like this, no matter how good they sound, we should ask them certain questions. How would they do it? Because some peoples are not, some workers have not been paid their salaries, pensioners have not been receiving their emoluments, and you're talking about feeding people. How are you going to raise money to do that? Okay, so henceforth, when government policies are being drawn up, those involved should make sure that they are not trying to ridicule Nigerians with bogus and empty promises. Please, we don't want that anymore. Okay, all right. So, and lastly, the next question we're asking is, uh, what steps are going to be taken by major regions in our country to stop religious violence, all right? To begin to embrace rather each other, people from other regions. I know, for example, we have three main regions, the Igbos, the Hausas, and Yorubas. How can we begin to, collaborate, to work, to dialogue, to see ourselves as one, all right? Irrespective of our religious affiliations and then traditional beliefs, because there is no other society that we have apart from this country. All right, remember that the conversation still goes on, and this is your brother and friend MC Liki, and this we are going to be wrapping things up in today's episode of the program. It's Miss Daily Rendezvous. My name is MC Liki, and this is supposed to be, we'll make a return sometime soonest.